Here I'll be talking about Blue Blink, a turbografx platformer developed by Westone. Those are the guys that developed the Wonder Boy series. Anyway, the translation was started by Gaijin Productions and finished by Zatos Hacks back in 2001. Gaijin Productions put out a lot of translations before it closed its doors in 2002. Their best known translation is probably for Sweet Home, the survival horror RPG on the old 8-bit Nintendo. According to the website for Zatos Hacks, someone named Tomato was part of their translation team. I wonder if it's the same Tomato that was on the Mother 3 fan translation team. Huh, looks like he is. I also noticed this about the Zatos Hacks site. Check the source code for secrets. Well, okay. So, that's an HTML comment, meaning it won't show up in a browser unless you look at the source code. Anyway, this video isn't about theology, it's about a fan-translated game with a blue pony, so let's get on with it already. In Blue Blink, you lead a band of heroes through a series of towns looking for some kid's dad. These towns are basically world maps full of platforming stages. You'll have a bunch of different characters to control, which will give you little gameplay variety, but you won't find much in the way of challenge. If you're up for a tiny bit of exploration and a healthy dose of cheery and simple platforming, Blue Blink will be right up your alley. For each stage of Blue Blink, the game will select a party of 3 characters for you. The green kid, that's Kakeru, will always be in your party. That's convenient because he's competent both at jumping and attacking. But if you do want to try out the other party members, you can rotate your party by pressing select. Kakeru is good enough to get you through the entire game, and I'm pretty sure you never have to switch to another party member, but you'll be glad if you experiment with the rest of your party. For instance, the short crook may not be a great jumper, but his spread shot covers more ground than Kakeru's straightforward shot. And if you switch to the princess, well, you won't be able to attack, but her leaps go really far. You're never required to switch characters, but it will make life easier. As a result, there's a satisfaction to be had in switching characters depending on the situation at hand, and it goes a decent ways to liven up the proceedings. Which is good because the proceedings could use some livening up. You won't find any interesting types of platforms, since terrain consists almost entirely of solid footing, bottomless pits, and spike beds. There's a crumbling platform in one stage and a spiked rotating bit in another, but these parts are far and few between. I gotta say though, the stages are nicely consistent. Town settings offer plenty of stable, flat ground, while the mountains contain jagged, uneven terrain, and the skies feature plenty of threatening bottomless pits. So even if it's a little on the boring side, at least it's not haphazard. Unfortunately, enemies are on the bland side too. There's an okay variety of foes to fend off here, but they really aren't built to stand up to your firepower. When they do catch your interest, it's because of their movement pattern. There's the balloons, which are hard to peg because of their weaving sine wave flight. And there's the bees that dash at you from a different floor. I should note that it is rare for an enemy to launch an assault on you like the bees do. For the most part, the enemies are content to walk around in whatever quirky way suits them best. You just gotta make sure you shoot them down, and if you don't get in their way. Well, actually, it's probably fine to get in their way. You'll have tons of health since you get a new heart every time you collect 100 coins. For a game that's already kind of easy, this seals the deal. Although, I do have to admit, the relatively harmless enemies work well with the game's easygoing art style. But there's more to the stages than that. In order to meet the boss of a world, you'll need to find a special key. If you come to the end of the world and you haven't found its key, you'll have to replay the correct stage to find it. Luckily, replaying stages is easy enough using the world map. Each world's boss key is hidden, but you'll come across people who give you hints to its location. In order to make the key appear, you'll have to shoot a certain spot in a certain stage. It sounds a little annoying, but even with just one hint, you won't have much trouble discovering a key. It helps that your party has a great sense of firepower, so it's not hard to cover a lot of ground with each time you fire. This is the main reason you'll want the fan translation. Personally, the first time I played the game, it was all in Japanese, so the hints didn't mean squat to me. I was still able to clear it, but finding the keys was pretty tedious. It definitely helps to have the hints in English. It also sounds like a lame way to extend the playtime, and it kind of is, except that the stages are pleasant enough that I don't mind replaying them. I should also mention that each key involves a mini platforming section, which is a little more difficult than the rest of the stage. Plus, sometimes it'll get you to visit stages you previously skipped. The world maps feature branching paths, meaning you can skip certain stages. Someone playing the game for the first time might find themselves meandering through all of the environments available, and someone experienced can limit themselves to the necessary stages. Sorry I don't have a whole lot of footage for talking about the keys, but the game is so short that I feel bad for even spoiling the one. Once you grab the key, you can head on into the boss lair. Bosses won't challenge your gaming pedigree, or require much strategy, but they will get you moving around. They inject some much-needed stress into the gameplay at the end of each world, providing a nice contrast to the leisurely normal stages. The mood is matched by a nice boss tune, which gets your blood pumping without coming off as hardcore. The soundtrack, on the whole, is almost catchy, which is a shame considering the consistently stellar music Westone provided the Wonder Boy games. In fact, I'd say that almost catchy describes Blue Blink in a nutshell. Some aspects, like the party system and the hidden keys, make me feel like the game is just a few steps away from providing a truly compelling experience. With some more rigorous stage design, or tougher enemy AI, or something, this could have been a great game. As it is, well, it's still a good time, even if you breeze through it. There's some extra stuff I'd like to mention on top of all that. The game is pretty short, coming in at only 5 worlds long. Although, to be honest, if it were any longer, I would demand a save system of some sort. Something along the lines of the 4-character password system you find in Do-Re-Mi Fantasy would be nice. I'm also not sure the game could be any longer without getting boring, given its simple mechanics and enemies. And remember when you'd leave the game on a title screen just to see all the different demos that would play? No? Well, anyway, if you sit through 2 demos, you'll get to the backstory. Anyway, now that the review is done, let's drop some names. The party mechanic reminds me of Mega Man somewhat. You get different weapons in Mega Man, just like how each party member in Blue Blink has a different weapon. The difference is that the weapons in Blue Blink are pretty simple and more general purpose than the ones you earn in Mega Man. In that sense, you might compare it to the weapon set you find in Journey to Silius. Although, unlike either of these games, Blue Blink provides you with infinite ammo, meaning you can feel free to shoot away to your heart's content. Just like Blue Blink, Sonic Heroes is a platformer that features a 3-person party. The party system in Sonic Heroes is built around switching characters multiple times each skirmish, only staying as a single character in order to perform a few combat moves. You'll switch through your characters in quick succession. However, the fighting in Blue Blink is simple enough that you'll find a good character for a situation and stay as that character for a while. The distinction between characters is more comparable to Super Mario Bros. 2. Each character has a distinct feel, but none of them are explicitly required for any single situation. However, this comparison still doesn't work. In Super Mario Bros. 2, Luigi and Princess are clearly the easiest characters to win with, while Mario and Toad are more technical. That's because Luigi and Princess make jumps very easily, while Mario and Toad allow for speedy gameplay. In Blue Blink, each character has a turn being useful, and none of them ever feels particularly technical. In that sense, it's more like the first Donkey Kong Country, where Donkey and Diddy both had their own strengths, but you were never required to use one or the other. Donkey could defeat more enemies more easily, and Diddy Kong had an easier time platforming, but it was more about playstyle and preference than having to get the most out of both characters. Certain stages on the world map branch out in two directions. Depending on where you exit the stage, you'll unlock a different path on the world map. You know, kinda like Super Mario World. The game is based on Osamu Tezuka's final anime, which is also known as Blue Blink. He's better known for his work on Astro Boy. Also, to the best of my knowledge, there's no English release of the anime. Westone itself is better known for its action RPG platformer series, Wonder Boy. Alright, that's it for this time. I'll see you later.